Hello everybody, Eric Rock here, Spiritual Catalyst, here to discuss what are you most afraid of and what have you been running from perhaps your whole life, because the energy is deeply inviting us to turn towards that and confront it once and for all. Pardon me. I'm a little sniffly today. So I'm sure you've been noticing that there's really intense energies occurring on the planet. It's bringing up all sorts of things. And some of us are feeling like charcoal that's being made into a diamond with like so much pressure that we feel we might just explode. So here's the deal. So here's the thing. There's like this wave of energy that's kind of like going through everything, through our bodies, through our lives, and through the collective. Each and every person is being forced to face the very thing or things that we've spent our entire lives trying to avoid, like running from, using various coping mechanisms to not deal with it. And as we know, what we resist persists, right? So here's some like real life examples. So perhaps you're someone that you've been avoiding stepping fully and completely into your power. And what could be occurring is that you're finding yourselves in a situation where stepping into your power is the only way forward. The only way through this is to walk through the fire and stand in your power. Maybe, perhaps, other people have been like really traumatized and shook up, and it's an emotional trigger to be alone, to stand in your own 2 feet. And we'll find ourselves kind of back in this aloneness. Like if you're someone that's always had to be in a relationship, perhaps all of a sudden your relationship is currently blown up and you're being forced to be alone and to face this aloneness, to fully feel it and explore it and to understand it to such a level that we're no longer running from it, that we're not afraid to be alone anymore. And like, what a relief, because is this really like a way to go through life? Always having this like thing that's chasing us, like a rabid wolf trying to like hunt us down. So, you know, there's aloneness, and I'm seeing this happen with a lot of people around me where their relationships are blowing up for a number of reasons. It's not always because they're afraid to be alone. It could be for like a myriad of reasons, but relationships are definitely something that's like up right now. And when we are truly receiving the light and it's really healing us and it's pulling to the surface that which we have been resisting, that which we haven't wanted to confront, that which we haven't wanted to deal with, that these things in our lives, it's like everything screaming louder and louder and louder to get our attention. So we have nowhere to turn, nowhere to run, but through. And in the long run, we will all feel better for it. You know, I know a bunch of people, and this has been something for myself where I've spent a good majority of my life wanting to succeed because it kind of has, in my mind, the belief was it proves my worth. I'm worthy, I'm deserving, I'm lovable, I'm enough if I'm successful. And this is something that I've been having to like really look at, because it's like, well, number one, what is my perception of success? And my perception of success has changed and evolved greatly over the last few years. To me now, success is like, if I'm like happy and healthy and fulfilled, it's not about what I'm doing for a career. It's not about how much money is in my bank account, how nice my house is, the clothes that I wear, any of that stuff. It's really about this sense of like alignment, harmony, peace, happiness, joy, fulfillment that is like residing within me. But for some other people, like if you've always, you're running from failure rather through your successes, we can see that like everything might start falling apart until our relationship with failure shifts. And how we define success shifts. One thing that people don't want to confront is kind of avoidance of being self-responsible. And then we can find ourselves in a situation where we just cannot avoid responsibility anymore, no matter how hard we try, how clever we are. And people will find themselves choosing to be responsible for maybe the first time in their entire life. So I'm sure you can fill in the blanks with whatever is going on in your life with XYZ. So the energy theme is the very thing that we're most afraid of, that we've been avoiding, trying to control, run from, numb from. We're being forced to confront to a degree that we're no longer walking this earth in fear and resistance to it. And on the other side of this is freedom. It may not be comfortable to confront these things at first, but the other side is freedom, is liberation. That wolf is no longer chasing you, and it holds no more power over you. And if these things are not holding power over us, we are empowered, right? We're empowered. So there's things, that are going on for us individually as well as collectively. We're in like Pluto with Aquarius, and Pluto is about the underworld. It's about that which has been hidden, that's that which we've been numbing and running from, and all these things. And for better or for better, I'll say it like that, we are being forced to confront these things we've been afraid of. And the time is now, because as we're going further into like fifth dimensional consciousness and energy, we cannot bring bags of fear that are like rocks in a sack that we've thrown over our shoulder with the weight of the world crushing us. We can't bring all this stuff into where we're going. We just can't. So it's like do or die time. I mean, I don't mean to sound like dramatic, but it's kind of like we're just being forced to look at, transformed our beliefs around anything that is limiting us, lowering our vibration, keeping us in lack, lowering our vibe in whatever way that looks like. When we're really desperate to get away from something and not deal with it, there's all these beliefs that start to form and behaviors that drive our behavior or our choices and our actions. And they end up bringing us results that are typically cause suffering and that are unwanted. Kind of like we want change without changing. We want to heal without having to walk through the fire to claim our healing, to move into our healing. For example, I had someone that used to do a lot of work with me, and as she was receiving more light and her vibe and frequency was up leveling, what she wanted was these situations in her life that were no longer serving her to no longer feel uncomfortable. And I was like, it doesn't work that way. And what was happening actually is that these situations in her life, these relationships that she had that were not serving her, that were not a vibrational, like in a vibrational alignment with where she was anymore, it was becoming more and more uncomfortable, not more comfortable. And I explained, like, it's going to get to a critical state where you can no longer deal with it, to put yourself in these situations, and you will be forced to let these people go. And she did finally. She did finally. But it was funny, she wanted healing without having to really heal. She wanted change without really having to change. And going into 2025, which is a 9 in numerology, that's about endings, ending of karmic patterns, ending of soul contracts. We're going to be called to a whole bunch of letting go. And once we do, that which is more vibrationally aligned and vibrational harmony, which is where our highest and greatest destiny for our lives is going, can come in, but we cannot drag all of the stuff with us and receive the new. You know, if I have my hands full and I reach out to receive something, I can't receive it because my hands are already full. And that might be like a super simple example, but it's like the one I have. So if we want less suffering, if we want to, because I hear so many people say as an intention for their healing sessions and their work and receiving the light, like, I want to embody the best version of me. And that is such a human thing to want. So in order to do that, we've got to look at the things that are holding back that embodiment of that highest and best version. And so the mantra is, I'm excited for change. I am eager to let go of that which doesn't serve me. And I do so with massive love, grace, compassion. And I open to receive that which is truly aligned for me. So, you know, as a collective, individually, but as a collective, we're definitely stuck in like patterns of avoidance. And how I know this to be true is take a look around at what's going on the planet. If we weren't stuck in patterns of avoidance, we wouldn't, all of this darkness that's been suppressed, that's coming to the surface, like we would have been kind of rolling with this the whole time, evolving with it, instead of all of these like dark secrets being like buried into the collective. And now things are exploding all over the place. It's like little volcanoes erupting in our own lives and then in the collective of humanity. So I know this all sounds like really straightforward, but it's tricky when we're pushed up against the wall by life, and it's like really showing up. It's really showing up for us. And my loving suggestions, and these are things I'm doing in my life. Radical honesty with myself. I've made a bunch of changes for things that I had been avoiding, patterns I had been avoiding, until I could not. So I've gone through this a bunch in just the last even few weeks. Patterns and things that I've been avoiding. It was like I could no longer avoid anymore. And it was time to let it go. And make the changes that my soul and my heart has been whispering. And then the whisper became a not so inside voice and got to be yelling, wake up, you've got to do this now. And so a lot of us are really, we're on this precipice, this we're on the edge of the cliff, and it's jump, and then you will find your footing, have faith and trust. There's so much that we're being called to release in so many ways. And so let's have super love and compassion for ourselves as we go through this process, because it is individual and it's collective. It couldn't be any other way, right? It's time to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. And that's another thing so many of us have been resisting, is really letting ourselves be vulnerable with ourselves, with our partners, with our family, with our community, with our friends. And I'm seeing in my own life and in my community that where we have not wanted to be vulnerable, because that can be so super scary, because there's this belief that vulnerability is weakness, and it couldn't be further from the truth. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, there's a strength and a power of that. So we're being called to confront our vulnerability. So many beautiful things. And I have received a glimpse of where we're going, and the treasure that we will find when we stop running and stop avoiding and stop numbing and stop making excuses and have a come to Jesus moment, if I could just say it like that, like a radical honesty, come to Jesus, yeah, it's time for me to do this for me. It's time to stop being afraid. And that's another big, huge thing individually and with the collective, is to stop running and to stop being afraid, because at the end of the day, we have nothing to be afraid of. The light will be victorious. It is already written. It is already written. And in fact, from time to time, if I'm in a real quiet space, sometimes I have, beings that show up that try to get my attention, that do not have my highest and greatest interest at heart. And I will sweetly and lovingly say to them, but firmly say to them, I know you have no right or authority here, because the light is victorious. It is already written. So these attempts that you're making are feeble, and you will fail. And so when we know that, our highest and greatest destiny, our higher selves are pulling us towards that in every moment, we only suffer to the degree that we're resisting the changes that our soul is asking us to make. And if we can lean on that, knowing you've got a beautiful future ahead of you. And how do I know that? Well, look at your past. I mean, things always tend to work out, even if we can't see the solution, even if we can't see where we're going. If we look back, things have a way of working out, don't they? And I know that might sound like so cliche, but it is true. So let's celebrate our victory in the light. Let's celebrate that our soul has a clue and knows where we're headed and is leading, guiding, directing us every step of the way. Let us celebrate us looking that which we fear in the face, confronting it, turning towards it, and choosing to relate to it differently and to overcome it once and for all. Because when we overcome that which we have been running from, numbing, we find peace. And that is something that we all want universally. We want to feel peace. But it is challenging to feel peace when we have things that we are resisting and running from. Things that we haven't wanted to confront, maybe for our entire lives. And as we go into 2025, it's the energy saying, it's time. It's time to confront this once and for all. It's time to complete this cycle of running, of numbing, of resisting, and be so sweet, loving, compassionate with yourself. So that's what I have to share. If people have any questions or you want to start a discussion, I would love to hear what your comments are, like what you're experiencing, if you feel courageous to share publicly. I can say that the people that I'm connected to on social media are some of the most loving, high-vibing people, awake people, and very little to any judgment is here. So, and especially for me, I always say this is like a welcome, like all is welcome party. So if you want to start a conversation, I would love to hear what's happening for you and what your perspective about all of this is. So have an awesome rest of your day. I give you huge hugs and all of my love. And until next time, take care and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.